Popping pussy.
I thought it was just like dancing, getting dressed up, and maybe that was my mistake.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge that.
Look at this.
Big one.
Yeah, the act of getting dressed up, looking fly as hell, wearing a minimum of 3-inch heels, preferably higher, and dancing your ass off
Urban
into the
Dictionary
wee hours of the morning.
is
That
made
was what
by
I
a
was
white
doing.
man.
You qualify as disabled.
Yeah, that's what I thought. As a white, I thought popping pussy was just dancing. I thought it was like
Yeah,
twerking.
that's what I thought.
That bitch lying.
All right, so boom. Jasleen Singh is airing out her dirty laundry.
Again?
Is it true that you said that there was a rotation of guys?
Oh,
A roster.
Roster.
Yeah, what does a roster
that?
mean to
Okay,
you?
What does
so
this mean?
You guys have to understand, have you ever heard of the repressed Catholic schoolgirl? I was the repressed Indian girl that I didn't even watch Jersey Shore in high school because I felt it to be too inappropriate. So when I got to college, I'm like, oh my God, I can dress however I want. I can do whatever I want.
You can have a roster of frat boys.
But
What does a roster mean?
so it didn't actually translate to a roster. It just meant like 2 guys I was talking to and flirting with at the same time. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses. I was shopping at Rainbow. I was eating buffalo chicken wraps every day. I was straightening my hair with my French tips. Like, you could not tell me nothing. And I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So it's like,
Now, I don't want to have to reiterate, reverberate, and regurgitate said sentiments from previous videos, but like I said then, what's to gain from sharing this information? Let's just say that she is not just trying to be coy and deceive the populace, and furthermore, her husband and the remainder of the podcast members by stating, I didn't know that's what popping my pussy meant, right? Let's just say we believe her for being ignorant of the definition of what's implied with the terminology. What is to gain from sharing this information? You're married in a public relationship, albeit Akaash isn't like an A-list celebrity. He's not a top tier stand-up where you can say the name and that rings in the comedy, field. But he had been on television on Guy Code. He's on one of the most popular podcasts in the world, no matter how you may feel about it, right? So he's recognizable, if you will. Hence why this has blown up in the past few weeks, right? What's to be gained by sharing this on social media? Her whole premise for her page was to become a luxury influencer.
Let's go gambling. Oh, dang it.
Somewhat of a wag, but not of an athlete or an entertainer. Well, in this case, an entertainer does comedy, right? But her whole goal was to break into the influencer space. What's to be gained from talking about popping pussy in frat houses? Y'all don't see how this is. Let's continue.
When you say hooking up, I think people
When
think you
I
meant
mean
fucking.
hooking up, I just meant making out. Again, like everything I say is so amplified and hyperbolic because it's so like incongruous to who I actually am as a person.
Right. So you're saying you're a big old prude.
Yeah, literally.
See, I'd love to believe you, but aren't you the same person who said this?
I think I learned so much of my humor from Akaash, not to like justify it, but just to explain like, oh, if I say these absurd things, it's so funny because it's not who I actually am.
Right.
But I kind of forgot that like the internet doesn't know all these multi-dimensions of my personality, so they're just seeing this one thing.
Right.
So the orgy joke started with like Akaash being like, oh, Nav's really hot. Like Akaash would show Nav's picture to his trainer or whatever, because he's like really like, ripped or whatever.
I will say also, if she had a body count, I would have been like, hey, cut that. But because she doesn't, and I know how like innocent she actually is.
Oh, you
it's
are a virgin?
absurd
That's
to me.
real?
I was
You were
a
a
virgin
virgin?
until I met him, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, good to know.
Yeah.
And if she wasn't, that body count thing, I'd be like, what are we doing here?
when I was in college, I dated this guy. He didn't want to fool around when I was on like the heaviest days of my period. Okay, totally understandable. I get that. And I was like, oh, great. Good news. My period ended. Like, we can like have fun tonight, blah, blah. And he was going down on me. Like, wouldn't you know it, I was still spotting. And also, if you're like poking around down there, like more blood can sometimes come out even if your period is over. And I swear to God, like I thought my period was done. He like looked at me with so much disgust, and I'll never forget that moment. Like I felt so ashamed and so dirty, and like he was like, how could you do this to me, and all this stuff, ruined the night and like whatever. And he was my boyfriend at the time.
That's not AI. That's you, unprovoked. Nobody asked you to post this. How you gonna say out of one side of your mouth, when I'm talking about hooking up, I'm just talking about making out? Roster of guys, it was only like 2. Oh my God. Like, ma'am, nobody asked you to post this. You unprovoked put this online. So how am I supposed to believe you when you say, hey, I don't really know definitions of things. You went into detail about cunnilingus and or vaginal penetration while you were menstruating, unprovoked. Let's just say she just being tongue-in-cheek. I don't even say tongue-in-cheek. She just straight up lying in an effort to go and garner views. I asked the question again. What's to be gained?
And now a word from our sponsor.
All right, so boom. As you all know, I recently became a homeowner, and over the course of the last 4 months, for whatever reason, repairs have to get done across the home. And sometimes those repairs are out of my budget. But luckily with today's video sponsor, Clover, I'm able to access and leverage their cash advance to where I can get those repairs done, and I don't have to worry about overbearing interest, and I can continue to build my cash reserves on the back end. Clover is a financial app designed to give people faster and smarter access to their money without the albatross of interest, hidden fees, or late fees. And keep in mind, Clover provides me with the security knowing that I can access up to $400 with no late fees. And they're incredibly transparent. No hidden fees, no interest, no credit checks, ever. So what are you waiting for? Do yourself a favor right now and either scan the QR code on the screen or click the link down in my description and download the Clover app today. Get up to $400 before payday with no late fees, no interest, no credit check, no hidden fees. Download the Clover app today.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So tell us about the duck. Do you always duck his kisses when there are not people around?
No, not when there aren't people around, just when there are people around. And I never even
That's
knew.
worse.
I didn't
Explain
know.
yourself.
I didn't know that I
Tell
did
us
that.
why.
I didn't know that I did that, so I really sat and thought about it. So I think it's a few things. I think it's like
You really sat and thought
yeah,
about it.
because I was like, okay, maybe it's like the repressed Indian girl thing where it's like I get a little bashful, I do get a little shy, despite what the internet thinks.
Most Indians do. I'm the exception.
Yeah, I think I also get overstimulated because Akaash does it a lot. It like regulates him, but it kind of overstimulates me. And
Look,
like the videos people have seen are like the proposal videos, they're like already overstimulating.
I actually have no problem with this, hence why I didn't include it in the initial video. And I saw a ton of people give their takes on how disrespectful it was for her to turn away from the kiss or whatever. But as she stated, there's numerous different times in which you could feel very overstimulated. And furthermore, in the midst of a proposal, a lot of things is already happening. And with cameras in your face, some people just don't want to be swapping spit and making out in front of cameras, in front of friends and family. I completely understand that, hence why I don't think that's a big deal. However, I will say this much. The fact that there's so many videos out there of you doing this is going to end up becoming a problem. Furthermore, ones that you or him have posted unprovoked. It's one thing if it was just a compilation of a bunch of other people's videos that they took unbeknownst to you. If you set up your own phone, set it up here, and y'all trying to take yourselves a nice looking video, and then you turn away willfully, why you posted it for? That's where you lose me.
Can I just say there's so many
tell us.
TikToks where I talk so positively about him. And
Yeah, but
like,
why that doesn't go viral?
Yeah, that's
Positively
boring.
talking about people.
Well, yeah, but
kinda
I
gay.
was just saying, I like found so many TikToks where I was saying so many amazing, uplifting things, but they didn't grab onto that.
That will never, the internet will never reward positivity.
Yeah, that's true.
Lesson learned.
Unless
Lesson
it's,
learned.
Well, not necessarily, because as we all know, Warren Buffett once said, it takes 20 years to build a reputation. It only takes about 5 minutes to ruin it. So if you happen to post a bunch of great things about your relationship and your husband, spouse, your wife, whatever the case just so happens to be, that's all well and good. If you post things that would be disparaging publicly to your relationship, it'll ultimately change the perception of how people would view you. If you're posting online, how don't you know this?
Well, that is the tricky thing. But it is a weird thing. It's like when you share your life like as a couple publicly
Yeah.
with the world, you know, and
Rough.
you guys have like idiosyncrasies that are kind of different from a lot of couples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Apparently.
Like, bruh, the orgy thing was fucking. That shit was crazy. I even watched it and I was like, so break us down.
I need an explanation.
Has the orgy happened?
So, okay, no, it hasn't.
Okay,
no, I still only fuck one woman.
That's what I thought was that's what I thought was missing in the whole orgy combo is that he also gets to get some side.
I could have doubled my body count.
Yeah. Now, would you have let him get some side in this hypothetical orgy?
Of course. Everyone should be included.
And like I said in my previous video, I can extend a bit of grace here because everybody has a different sense of humor. And truly, I don't think she was being serious. However, if you take a look at the presentation of how she's making this joke, she's painting the picture of her co-host's husband as like the essence of masculinity and manhood. She's essentially, the innuendo is essentially saying that he's incredibly well endowed.
I'm actively trying to have an orgy because, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
I beg your pardon? If you watch the podcast episodes, because I sat here and I watched every single one of her and her co-host, and then furthermore watched the entirety of her appearance on Flagrant, it's very minimal and few and far between where she big ups her husband in that regard. But here you are on this particular episode of her podcast, essentially bigging up the co-host's husband to where it would be such an experience to be in a sexual, experience with him. And then furthermore, you had other episodes where she was talking about the guys that would essentially be the hall passes for her.
I don't know if you watch The Boys, but I love him on The Boys.
I never watched that show, but like he's on my hall pass list.
Oh yeah.
Chase Crawford, Jacob Elordi, Austin Butler, and who else?
Michael B. Jordan. I love a pretty boy, which is why I like Chase Crawford, Michael B. Jordan. They're all so pretty.
Okay, Dean Thomas from the Harry Potter movie.
The presentation of how she's saying this joke and being coy about it, you don't give that same sort of energy towards your husband. Like if you go through the TikTok, which I did, every single post for 3 years, it's an incredibly small percentage of posts in which she's bigging up her husband and making it seem as if he's the best in the world. The vast majority, and I'm not saying it's all of them, but the vast majority in which she's discussing their relationship, it's more negative than it is positive. And even if you're joking, you have to also recognize if you're just a regular viewer who's watching, you're probably gonna look at that and say, I don't think she's all the way that into him. Maybe there might be another reason why she's here. It would make you question, even if y'all are good behind closed doors, this is what you're presenting and putting out there. Perception will ultimately become reality. And if you're aspiring to be a content creator, you have to understand this.
I think I learned so much of my humor from Akaash, not to like justify it, but just to explain like, oh, if I say these absurd things, it's so funny because it's not who I actually am.
Right.
But I kind of forgot that like the internet doesn't know all these multi-dimensions of my personality, so they're just seeing this one thing.
That's why it's so incredibly important to be able to articulate and furthermore paint the picture that you want to paint for the audience to be able to receive. Because if I leave it relatively ambiguous, they're gonna essentially fill in the blanks that I failed to paint. And once the narrative is essentially made by the populace, you no longer have the leverage.
Yeah, we had the food at your wedding. That was great.
Yeah.
Love the peanut butter stuff.
Yes. What was it?
Which part? Oh, the prashad?
Yeah.
It's brown sugar, ghee, and flour, like mixed together.
Yeah. She's actually made it, non-cooking ass bitch.
You can make that?
Keema.
Really?
It's useless.
Which is like Punjabi brown meat.
You can't say this with all due respect, please.
You guys say with all due respect. Well, I guess it's your
Well, I
way.
thought the internet was right about everything. Golding a horrible woman.
Yeah. Okay, so you can make all these things. You can make all these things.
Yeah.
So you're presenting this version of yourself online that's not true.
But you're actually a trad wife.
I was committing to this bit because I thought that was the funny thing to do. But I'm not a comedian, obviously.
You're not fooling us.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you catch that? Andrew said you're presenting a version of yourself that's not even real. And that was followed up by the other gentleman on the couch saying, so you're a trad wife. She responds to this by saying, I'm committing to a bit, but unfortunately, I'm not a comedian. What was the bit? Where was the joke? Here you are behind closed doors. A trad wife, a supportive wife. But you get online, masquerading and putting on a facade of that of a stay-at-home wife who essentially does nothing. In fact, she admitted earlier on the podcast to outsourcing cleaning around their apartment, which that's not an issue, but Akaash actually was a bit astonished by it, so much so to where he said, oh, he didn't know that. Well, that's interesting.
Jasleen cooks, she cleans, she maintains the home on a monthly basis.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
There you go.
Not by me specifically, but yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you also will find people.
You schedule, but not you.
Yes.
You schedule. Someone got to manage
We
that.
all have cleaning people.
Yes.
And,
Yes. I like how you call them cleaning people. That was very politically correct.
That was. That was.
but do I not take care of Happy like he's my son?
Of course. And I go on the road, I come back, it's clean. I don't know if you hire somebody or if that's you, but every time I come back, it's
I
clean.
hire someone, yeah.
Really? Without me knowing? Now I feel betrayed. I thought you did something.
Here you are living a luxe lifestyle in a high-rise apartment in Manhattan, New York City, where it costs $8,900 to rent a cardboard box on the corner of Madison Avenue. I cannot confirm nor deny said sentence. But here you are doing this all while aspiring to be an influencer, TikTok fluencer, if you will, with a little bit of partner shaming here, airing dirty laundry that nobody asked for as well. But you thought the appropriate bit was to grift as a complaining wife online? Why is that? The bigger question is, who are your influencers? To where you thought that was okay and that was the best metric to follow. Because call a spade, toxicity brings in a whole lot of money. And you didn't seem to have that behind closed doors, but that's what you wanted to present. So if that's the case, I ask again, what was the bit? Because the bit is a joke. And in this case, you made your husband the joke. Why'd you feel comfortable doing that? Maybe I'm thinking too much.
Someone said the misandrous to Princess Pipeline is real, and I am who they're talking about.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
Okay,
Misandrous?
Why are you being dumb?
Misandrous?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It's like a female version of a misogynist.
Oh, yes. You are that.
You're a fraud. A total fraud.
Yeah, it is one of those things you just gotta fake it. It's like kissing your husband in public. You just gotta fucking fake it and be like, I love doing this. I love nurturing you back to health.
Exactly.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, then you get the big reward afterwards. Okay,
It's like when Akaash's birthday comes around.
Yeah.
I have to pretend that it's like so special, but
I
it's
don't
like
even ask for this.
the one day. Yeah, you do. The one day of the year that I have to like be totally selfless,
Oh, yeah. That I
which
want.
is really hard for me.
Yeah, that I want.
Jasleen, you're doing a horrible job right now.
Did you catch that? Because I wanted to make sure I left the full context so you could see that Jasleen likes to bring stuff up unprovoked. But that lets you know there's probably some unhealed trauma that exists here, right? But furthermore, we don't need to get into the therapy session. Let's just break things down. She unprovoked brings up Akaash's birthday again. And if you saw the previous video, you'll see there was a whole segment on that, but we'll get into that, right? She then says that particular day, she has to pretend it as if that day is special. You can look at the look on the face and the body language of Akaash. He responds and tries to save her by saying, oh, well, I don't ask you to do that. She follows that up by saying, oh, yes, you do. You want me to be 100% selfless that particular day. He responds by saying, oh, I do ask you that. And she responds by saying, yeah, it's hard for me. Why would you admit this in public? Furthermore, we got to take into account the context of this here. This isn't a situation in which, this is a new blooming relationship. Y'all are in the dating phase. Y'all been together 9 years. You've been married for 4. This is your husband. You find issue being selfless for your husband, and you laugh about it. And for those who didn't see the previous video, when she was on the podcast, her co-host's husband, and Akaash as well, and the topic of his birthday came up. What did she reference it as?
The worst day of the year for me is
Oh, I know this. Go.
tax day.
No.
It's Akaash's birthday.
And I feel it because she's being nice to me all day. And by like 10 p.m., I can feel her getting just like, I'm so ready for this to be over.
Why?
It's like I turned back into a pumpkin at 12:01, May 5th, and she's so relieved that she gets to be mean again.
Okay, May the 4th is Akaash's birthday. And
May the 4th be with you.
Yes. thank
Yeah, and every year I dread it because I have to be nice the whole day, and I have to get him something, and I have to also be nice and do like acts
said
of
that twice.
kindness.
She said,
really
she said that
not
twice.
okay with
You know,
it.
she said that twice.
She's really not okay with it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's really hard.
For her, it's really hard.
Me.
She needs to just,
Listen, I'm just used to being treated like a princess all day, every day. So that one day that I don't,
Oh, what torture.
yeah, it's
And
hard.
treating
What
somebody else like they're the main character, that's like the
Yeah,
lowest in her book. That's what it is. That's what it is.
This birthday, he didn't really give a fuck either because he gave me this ring, and he was like, "I've done enough."
Oh, God.
Yeah. What are you? Look at the ring. We went to Turks
But
and
did you get her
Caicos.
flowers?
Oh my God. I hate when. I hate when.
Flowers.
I hate when.
Wait, tell.
I only get flowers for Valentine's Day.
I hate when-
Barely.
Can you tell?
I'll ask you, viewer. Let's say you were in a relationship and your spouse, significant other, long-term partner were to reveal in a public setting on a global platform their least favorite and worst day of the year, her words, not mine, was your birthday, because they had to be 100% selfish for 24 hours. Would you feel as if I'm in a loving relationship? This is a great spot for me. And let's just say this was broadcasted to your closest friends and family. Do you think they would come to you and say, man, I'm so happy for you. Hey, you got yourself a keeper? Or do you think they would tell you, run for the hills? I think they would probably go with the latter.
Was there anything that specifically bothered you or, yeah?
I mean, I think people talking about the sore butthole story, because
Yeah.
that was more kind of like an assault story, but I didn't want to label it as such because I didn't think it was super traumatizing, and I had already shared one.
Right.
And I feel like the internet has a quota for girls of like how many assault stories they could share, regardless of if it's true or not. Like, obviously, I
You think the
didn't.
internet would be like, oh, every story she tells
Yeah,
she's
that's
getting
why I
assaulted.
didn't want to
Yeah.
do. That's why I was like, oh, this happened. I didn't really say it's okay.
So what happened, if you don't mind saying?
Well, I mean, so I was living in San Francisco working on
Definitely
my
a
internship.
butt thing would happen there. Not shocking at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like when Tinder first came out. There was no Bumble, there was no Hinge. I met this guy on Tinder, whatever. Like we were like just feeling like the vibes, and I stupidly was like, oh, you can sleep over, but like not really wanting to hook up that much. Because again, for me, like I was just like, okay, maybe we can make out and just like whatever and cuddle. But then I guess he like wanted.
Was this guy Indian?
No, he was like way
Yeah, he took it very differently than, yeah. I've learned this translation.
Wait, what do you mean?
An Indian guy might understand what an Indian girl means when she says we're hooking up. It doesn't mean we're fucking.
There's something conservative.
I think most American people
I was thrown off by her inviting him over. Because when
Yeah,
I've
that
been
was-
invited over, that usually means, oh, we're fucking.
No, I
Yeah.
know that was again stupid decision on my part. I was like 21, so it's like I really just like I don't know, like I just was making bad decisions all
Fair.
around. So it's like, but I was like, okay, like we'll kiss, whatever. I don't remember, honestly, I don't even remember too much, but I just remember him like trying to like sneak a finger, and I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But like then the next day, like it was like kind of feeling sore, but it wouldn't. Like if it had been anything else, it would, that would have been a whole other story. It would have been
Right.
like it would have teared something. You know?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So it was just like that.
So this was a creep pervert that was trying you, and the internet ran
Basically.
off with this crazy narrative
Yeah.
of something completely different.
Yeah.
Yo, security, you got to find those guys.
Yeah,
Find that guy.
yeah, we gotta
Find
get
that
them.
guy.
We gotta get them.
I would love that.
I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore. Oh my god! And I remembered that he like I was like trying to finger me in my asshole. I'm like, first of all, we were not on those like terms. But anyways, so that was non-consensual actually. That was a non-consensual like butthole action.
Really? Really? Now, I'm going to tread lightly here because she claims this was a unconsensual, act, right? But let's just put our thinking caps on. You invite somebody up. You're 21. They come up to your dormitory, wherever it was that she was staying, right? And your plan was to just make out and kiss throughout the evening. What is required to get to the point in which one can attempt to stick a finger up the poop chute in an effort to mimic a prostate exam? Clothes would have to be removed. And then let's just think about it. All right, fellas, from a guy's perspective, is the butthole the first place you would attempt to stick a finger if you're in the midst of making out? Obviously, there would be a bit of groping that happens before insertion even makes it to that point. She only specified the unconsensual portion was that of the finger in the butthole. You don't think they would try towards the vulva region first? She didn't bring that up whatsoever. You're omitting a bunch of details, albeit it's not for us to know this info, but you brought this up unprovoked. So why would anybody who's viewing not look at that and say, all right, you invited this person up. You wanted to go and hook up. In your mind, hooking up was just making out. But clothes would have been taken off in order to get to the point where somebody would attempt to go and finger you. Furthermore, you don't just unlubricated finger insert. That just doesn't, now, albeit you're talking about 21-year-olds here, but something doesn't make sense here. I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm simply saying the math equation don't have all the appropriate work on display, if you understand what it is that I'm saying.
To tell us why you were showing your cheeks to a guy and asking if he's single.
To a single Indian doctor.
Can I just give the whole lore? Okay, yes. Looking back, I get it. It was stupid. I was being stupid, okay? But we all make mistakes. But
That's a good point. Technically, we do.
Yeah, so what happened was I actually fell in Pilates class. I fell on my ass. Me and Akaash happened to have an amazing romantic weekend together.
Where? What position? Where? Sorry, hold on. Okay.
And so what happened was, as a joke on TikTok, I showed the bruise, like not like I didn't show my full ass cheek, but I just show a little bit. Because again, like repressed Indian girl, I'm like, oh, I can dress however I want as long as I don't actually do anything. So I'm like, okay, you know, tell me you had a good weekend with your husband without telling me. Show the little bruise.
I get this little.
It's a ring light. Dr. Trevor, what are we doing?
So Jasleen sustained a bruise through some physical activity at home. And we treat a lot of bruises here, bruises for many different reasons. And so we announced the laser called the baby and the bath.
Also, I heard you're single. Is that true?
We're gonna go back to treating. Typically, we get these types of bruises on the neck.
Wait,
we call them something else on the neck, and it's surprisingly we get a lot of patients that come in.
Rishi, who is my dermatologist and my brother, amazing like practitioner, he was like, I've gone to him for hyperpigmentation. It really bugs me. And he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, if you don't treat this, this is going to pigment. And then he knows he's going to have to deal with me later. Like, please, can you get rid of the scar? So he's like, I would just treat it like ASAP or whatever. So I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll come in. And then again, me being stupid, like, because I want to go on double dates, I'm like, oh, he's single. And I'm like having like this like tongue-in-cheek thing of like kind of alluding to me and Akaash having sex, even though I actually found Pilates. So the whole thing was taken out of context.
Sorry, bro.
I never said I had strong dick. This is really, if anything, affirming for me.
That's fair.
But did that make more sense, like, to the context?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
But at the same time, the issue is always like
people's perception.
Yeah.
Yes, perception. Precisely. Because what's her get out of jail free card, her ace in the hole every single time throughout the entirety of the episode? Repressed brown girl, repressed Indian girl. So you think that gives you an excuse to do whole shit? Now, albeit it's great to acknowledge you were being stupid, but really think about it. You got your ass out at the doctor's office. You took your phone out unprovoked to record this and broadcast it onto the global platform that is TikTok. What's going on upstairs? You don't recognize what that looks like when you're in a public relationship? Because it's not a secret as if she's married to Akaash. She continues to mention this is her husband throughout the entirety of her posts on her TikTok and all the other social media followers. What I'm getting at here is it still doesn't register in her mind. What she's doing is not only a representation of her, but also her husband and the union the two of them share. Still, on the episode, it still don't register.
In terms of the gold digging,
yeah.
Like,
serious.
Do you consider yourself a good gold digger?
Yeah. Because I invested low and waited for it to go high.
You're supposed to be a gold digging whore according to the internet.
That's what I'm saying. There was like so many red flags early on.
But why'd you stay? That's
okay. I stayed because I felt like as soon as I met you, it was love at first sight. I loved you. Like, I don't know. I just felt like, and maybe like you feel like that when you guys met your wives or your fiance. It's like, you just like know when you have that special connection. It's like, okay, like God picked this person out for me, and like everything he did from top to bottom, like his character, his integrity, his personality, like I just like loved everything about it. So I was like, okay, like I don't want to just leave because we're going through a hard time, because I really believed in like his potential, like just like you did.
For sure.
You know, because you were more successful than Akaash, like in the very beginning and stuff, and now you guys have, yeah, whatever.
I also believe that he was incredibly brilliant and talented, but also just an amazing soul and an incredible person.
Exactly. But I just know, I also knew that about him, that he had like ambition and this work ethic. So I was like, okay, like, so we're gonna go through this bumpy time, but I was like praying harder than I ever prayed, just that we would get out of it and like something would resolve. And I was just hoping that.
And it worked. Those prayers worked.
Now, here's the thing. I don't want to appear as if I'm ragging on their relationship, because I believe in love. I love love. In fact, the moment that somebody goes and gets married, I hope it works out, because when you say those vows, it's supposed to mean something, right? And the origin story of how the two of them got together, it really is a beautiful, story. Now, some would chalk that up to struggle love and the way that people view relationships nowadays, right? But it ended up working out. And as she stated, she was with him through the downs. Akaash told a story about how there was a moment in which they had gotten evicted from the apartment. They're essentially laying and sleeping on the floor. He looks over at her like, man, I can't even get Shorty on a bed. And she still stayed with some. He tried to cover her with the North Face or whatever, and they got into it. And essentially, it's truly a story of somebody being there for you as you're going through hard times. And now that he's up, he gets her whatever she wants. And truly, that's the type of relationship that most people should aspire to be with, because you want to make sure you got somebody who's a ride or die, right? And in theory, and from what it appears, that's their relationship. However, when you get online and you post about the dirty laundry of the relationship, and not in a manner in which it's, this was the problem, here was the solution, and now we're moving forward. But you just present problem, 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 problem. You're opening up the door to unnecessary toxicity from the outside making its way in. And if you already have toxicity on the inside, it's a mixture, a marriage that's gonna end up being set to fail. Because again, you don't need to air everything out online. You don't got to constantly talk about things from your past. I'm not saying you can't be transparent, open, and honest, but there's a way that you can present that transparency, present that honesty, present the growth in the appropriate manner without essentially making your significant other look absolutely foolish. Even in the midst of this episode where they attempted to address everything, if you look in Akaash's eyes, truly, if you look in his eyes, that's a defeated man right there. And none of this would have happened had Shorty just kept her mouth shut. And I ain't saying you can't have agency. I ain't saying you can't have a career. I ain't saying you can't be an influencer, but you have to be smart about what it is that you're sharing and how you're sharing it. There's a number of different successful relationships, public relationships on social media, to where they can joke with each other, but it's not in the manner in which you end up looking at one of the spouses like, yo, dude might be a cuck, dude might be a simp, man's is a doormat. Or you look at the girl like, damn, you getting played, you getting taken advantage of. Oh, he's walking all over you. Man, you got to pick yourself up, have some respect for yourself. There's ways where you can joke, showcase your humor, and not embarrass who you with. This ain't one of them. Because now we here in a spot, like I said in the previous video, the internet's forever. And given his nature of business as a stand-up comedian, everything that you do now becomes cannon fodder for people to just pull up and heckle. And the bulk share of his set, not the bulk share, but a percentage of his set is based off of crowd work. He gonna have to essentially spend not the remainder of his time as a stand-up comedian, but in the near future, every single time he encounters a heckler or something of that nature, maybe not every time, but about 80-some%, the cannon fodder is going to be this. And you made that happen. And we didn't get no public apology on the podcast. There was no sincerity. You got to essentially wait for her next taping to see if she's going to address it even further and publicly and formally apologize to her husband on how things have since played out, because you can tell homie's stressed out. He got more grays in his beard and in his hair on this episode of Flagrant than he had 3 weeks ago. I would just hope that you just keep this shit behind closed doors. I ain't saying you can't post. You do that. Just be smart about what you put out there. Because once you publicize shit, once you bring shit to the forefront, and you allow a bunch of people to have opinions on your doggone relationship, no matter how good you may be offline, if it looked like shit online, it's only a matter of time before the online makes its way offline, especially if you have work that intertwines the two. Stop being afraid of. Be smart. Be smart.
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb. I'm smart and I want respect.